I took my grandson to see what was the movie with Buzz Light, and like, man, she had a baby with a woman. Oh, I didn't come in for this.
Snoop Dogg, one of the most recognizable figures in hip-hop and pop culture, recently sparked a wave of discussion after comments he made about LGBTQ representation in children's movies. Appearing on the It's Giving podcast, Snoop reflected on his experience watching Pixar's 2022 film Lightyear with his grandchildren. In the movie, there is a moment that shows Commander Alicia Hawthorne, a close friend of Buzz Lightyear, sharing a kiss with her wife. Together, they are depicted as raising a child. It was a short scene, lasting just a few seconds, but it marked a milestone as Disney's first same-sex kiss in a feature film.
So there are actually people upset with Snoop Dogg because he said he doesn't want his grandson being introduced to homosexuality in a Disney movie. Why are you mad? If you're really upset about the whole Snoop Dogg situation, I'm staying far away from you because obviously you're a weirdo. Kids should not know about sex. I thought everybody knew that. Barely.
The moment was nearly cut from the theatrical release, but after Pixar employees spoke out against what they described as censorship of LGBTQ affection, the kiss was reinstated. Snoop explained that the scene caught him by surprise, particularly because his grandson turned to him with a question. According to Snoop, the child asked how two women could have a baby together. In retelling the story, Snoop admitted that he didn't know how to respond in that moment. He went on to say that these kinds of depictions left him uncertain as a grandparent, wondering how to handle conversations that he felt unprepared for. He added that he felt like LGBTQ representation was showing up everywhere in children's films, and said it even made him hesitant about going to the movies. Once the podcast episode was released, reactions quickly spread online.
I'm just gonna say it. You're a bad parent. You don't have the answers to explain how someone can have two moms or two dads. Simple. Rather simple. But what I find to be pretty interesting is that he's talking about how essentially he's scared to go to the movies, really obtuse, and then is essentially saying that we need to protect kids because kids should not be seeing stuff like this. Okay, so following that logic, why did you perform at the Trump crypto ball? Why is your best friend, your friend, a member of the PayPal mafia in David Sachs? You caught a case back in the day. You rapped about pimping B words, right? And you talked about having bust downs. But this is a bridge too far? Astounding, man. Like, we knew when he performed at that crypto ball that there was some terrible things going on, but possibly for a man who was in favor of gay rights during the Obama administration to then just completely fall flat on his face over the span of not even a year is incredible, and possibly showing why he is the biggest disappointment of 2025.
Many social media users criticize Snoop, saying that explaining adoption or surrogacy to a child isn't complicated. Others argue that being unsettled by a same-sex couple in a children's film sends the wrong message in today's cultural climate. Comments range from lighthearted jokes about Snoop being confused to stronger accusations of him being out of touch with changing times. At the same time, there were also people who defended him, pointing out that he was speaking honestly as a grandfather trying to navigate new questions from younger generations. They argued that many parents and grandparents feel the same way, and that his comments should be viewed less as hostility and more as uncertainty. For those supporters, the backlash was an example of how quickly public figures can be judged for voicing their honest reactions. the conversation didn't stay confined to social media. In Australia, where Snoop is scheduled to perform at the AFL Grand Final halftime show this September, even politicians weighed in. Senator Sarah Hanson-Young criticized the decision to feature him at such a high-profile event, describing him as offensive and suggesting that a local act should replace him. The AFL, however, defended their choice, pointing to his decades-long career, wide appeal, and contributions to charitable causes. The league made it clear they were standing by their decision despite the controversy. This incident highlights a larger discussion that has been taking place around Disney and Pixar in recent years. For much of its history, Disney avoided including openly LGBTQ characters in its animated films. Representation, when it existed, was often subtle or implied. That began to shift more visibly in the last decade. In 2020, Pixar released a short film called Out on Disney+, which told the story of a young man coming out to his parents. It was notable for being the first Pixar project to center on a gay protagonist and to include a same-sex kiss. Following that, The Owl House aired on Disney Channel, introducing Luce, Disney's first openly bisexual lead character, and Rain, the first non-binary character in a Disney show. These were significant milestones for LGBTQ representation in family programming. Then came Lightyear in 2022. While the film itself received mixed reviews and struggled at the box office, the inclusion of a same-sex couple was widely reported on. In the same year, Disney also released Strange World, which featured a gay teenage lead. More recently, Pixar's Elemental in 2023 included non-binary representation through the character Lake Ripple. Each of these projects has pushed the boundaries of what Disney and Pixar are willing to put on screen, while also facing criticism and even bans in some countries. Snoop's reaction on the podcast ties into an ongoing cultural question. At what age should children be introduced to these themes, and how should adults handle the conversations that follow? For some, these depictions are seen as an important part of normalizing diversity and showing children that families come in many forms. For others, especially those from older generations, it can feel unfamiliar or difficult to address without clear guidance. What makes this particular case resonate is the profile of the person speaking. Snoop Dogg is not just a rapper. Over more than 3 decades, he has become a television personality, a businessman, a coach, and even a mainstream entertainment figure alongside Martha Stewart. He has 3 grown children with his wife Shantae, 1 son from another relationship, and is a grandfather to 10 grandchildren. In many ways, he has built a second career around his image as a family man. Hearing him express confusion in that role struck a chord with both critics and supporters. This situation also reflects how public conversations have shifted. Younger audiences often accept LGBTQ representation with little issue, while older audiences sometimes voice discomfort. These differences highlight a generational divide where the same piece of media can feel ordinary to one group and controversial to another. In the end, Snoop's comments have become part of a much broader debate. They raise questions about representation in media, the responsibility of public figures, and the role of parents and grandparents in guiding children through changing cultural landscapes. Whether people see his remarks as an expression of personal struggle or as a problematic stance, the fact remains that they sparked dialogue far beyond a single podcast interview. Disney and Pixar are likely to continue including diverse representation in their projects as social attitudes evolve and audiences expect more inclusive storytelling. Meanwhile, public figures like Snoop Dogg will continue to face scrutiny when their words touch on sensitive cultural topics. What this moment demonstrates is how even a short scene in an animated film can ignite conversations about family, identity, and generational change that extend well beyond the movie theater.